The conversation about hip injuries and the tsunami of hip injuries that's been developing has sort of been happening over the last 3 or 4 years, and it really feels as though it's coming to the fore now. We have Lee Keegan in the last few weeks having another hip operation, probably going to miss maybe even the entire league campaign. Like, is this something you worry about long term?
It is, yeah. Like that was what I went out to NFL as well. I think a lot of the county players are going there out in Santry, and he was basically saying, you can do all the rehab and get it right you want, but when you go in the box in 40 or 50 years, your hip is going to be like completely deteriorated. So
Right.
from that perspective, but you don't worry about that when you're playing at all, obviously, because you want to get the most out of it.
Have you had an op on it yet?
No, I haven't. I can't have an operation. It's tendonitis in my hip, so
Right.
I can't have the operation. The operation, like the big issue with it was that so many people were getting the operation done and they were being told before it, there's no guarantees with it. I think a lot of people got did somebody get the hip trimming one?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah,
Got a few.
yeah, and they tell you, there's no guarantees with it, like that it's.
Yeah, my initial problems it was the hip the whole time. I was getting groin injuries the whole time, and my groins were kept tearing and tearing, and I got 2 operations on my groins, and I ended up getting the hip looked at in the end. And after that, then in fairness, I went down to Dr. Carton down in Waterford,
Right.
and literally I was plagued for 3 years with groin injuries and issues like so. Once I got that, it was a 3-month I think layoff. It was kind of a long rehab after it. But literally ever since I came back, I haven't had one issue at all with my groin, and that was like 3 years ago. So for me, it worked 100%. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's still like I was trying everything at that time. Like I was willing to do anything at all, just to get rid of the groin pain, or the groin injuries and stuff.
I was the same. Yeah, I was trying. I was mad to get an operation on it just so I could so I could fix it, but there wasn't an operation. I
wasn't hugely optimistic going into it, having done 2 already that didn't really work, and then the third I was kind of grand. But like,
And what age were you when you had the hip operation?
I would have been 31. 31 I'd say. So I wasn't young, like.
Yeah.
Well, you've a good few 20, 21 year olds in Wexford who've had it now, who'd be playing hurling and football with their club, and they'd be flat out, and then going into basically a full time career at Wexford. Like that's, if you're hurling or playing football, you're going to be at 4 or 5 nights a week, and it just told on their bodies at an early age. So I don't know. Like I think there's a few different. Like maybe weightlifting is one of them. The style that was being done, I know 10 years ago when we started doing it, it was definitely not as technical as it is now, but it's definitely an issue.
The strength and conditioning side has obviously improved massively over the last few years. When you're going in now doing sessions, is it all taken into account?
Oh yeah, definitely. The kind of rehab and the injury prevention is, like, I know for ourselves in the last few years has been, it's gone to a new level. Like, it's more about your rehab and what you're doing in the days off and stuff, and even in the gym when you're doing gym sessions, there's specific things you're doing in that session to, prevent injury. Like, I think that definitely that aspect of the game in the gym, I think is, it's hugely important, because I think maybe like, years ago, there's always been like lads were doing gym programs and stuff, and I don't think we probably knew exactly what we were doing, maybe, and you know what I mean. Model. It wasn't as professional as it is now. I think lately it has gone a lot better.
Ciaran, how's your hips?
Mine are good.
Or Conor, sorry. Conor, how's your hips?
Yeah, it's something that's there. It has been for a number of years now.
Yeah.
And you just manage it as best you can. I had surgery on it back in 2011. Wasn't overly successful. You still have to do the rehab anyway, regardless of whether you get the surgery or not. You still have to do it. So that's where I'm at with it now. I have it in the other hip as well, and it's just something you manage.
You don't go in for another op?
No, no, because it's a case that the rehab that I'm doing now is going to be the same that I'm going to be doing after,
Right.
So, and it's not a case that, like it's the likes of a cruciate operation. You go in and you get the operation and you're guaranteed that it's fixed and you just rehab it. This isn't like that. There's a wee bit of, it's a bit of a grey area seems to be with it, and the amount of time that you would miss from having that surgery, whereas you can continue playing with the same rehab. So that's the approach I've taken this last number of years with it. And
so is it just something you're delaying, that when you get to 36, 37 if you're tired, you'll have to have?
No, it's not that. You're probably down the line. You're probably looking at hip replacements or something. I don't know, but it's not a case that it's only really when you're active and when you're really using it and really putting the body and the hips in under pressure and under strain that it comes to the fore. When you're not really doing much, it doesn't really give you that much trouble,
So day to day, when you're at work, you're not feeling it?
Not during the year, when you're playing games and things like that, after a game and things like that, yes, it will. But say if you take 2 or 3 months off, generally it wouldn't flare up too badly, you know.
Was there a temptation then not to play in the international rules? Like, does it play in your mind like that?
Not really. Again, it's just a case of managing as best you can. Like the likes of training, say twice in one day or 2 days in a row or things like that, there aren't ideal for it. You can train, and when you're training, you can train as hard as anybody else. It's just it takes me, but maybe a wee bit more time to recover and things like that. And look, I've come to know my own body now and what I can and can't do. So it's just a matter of managing it, you know.
Will you play a full league campaign next year?
I'll see how that goes. Hopefully, I'll see how the rehab goes. I had a bit more trouble with it last year during the league. Was for the first time since I had the injury. I had a wee bit more trouble with it last year than I ever had. So I'll try and manage it maybe a wee bit better this year. I'll get a good blast of rehab into it now over the next say 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and you know, do that alongside with training and getting a bit of fitness into the legs and things. So I'll see where it takes me. I'll see what the physios are thinking, and Malachy obviously as well. So
yeah, that relationship with Malachy is very important at a time like this, I guess, because like there'll be a huge amount of pressure, I'd imagine, within Monaghan on you to play every game. You're playing Division 1 football. You're arguably the best forward in the country right now. Everyone wants to see you on the pitch for every game, and to say, actually, maybe the best thing for me long term is to take a bit of a break here. Sometimes the supporters don't want to hear that.
No, well, it's suppose, and that's maybe where I was at last year with it, you know,
right.
and probably played some games that maybe when I wasn't at full fitness, and you know, you're not really doing yourself any good, and you're probably not performing as well as you maybe would hope to, and things like that. So look, it's about getting it right, and whenever I, you know, between myself and the physio team, we have a good physio team there, and look at Malachy, you know, there's no smarter man around than Malachy in that regard. He knows the story. We've spoken about it already, so we'll manage it now over the next couple of weeks, see where it goes, and you know, see what sort of shape we can get it into.